Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, and the week's almost over. Hang in there. We're almost to the weekend. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the last 6 months and what we've all gone through. And how a lot of it really was actually pre-programmed into films and media leading up to these events. I wanted to take one more look at this Lady Gaga video at home together, right? In which she sings the Charlie Chaplin song. And this was back in April of this year. And she was clearly referencing the Chaplin scene in the film The Joker, which was 5 months before that, in 2019. And in that film, of course, chaos reigned in the streets. Clowns in whiteface against the elite and the cops, which is exactly what's going on right now, but in reverse. And I want you to slow down. I want to slow down this part in this cover song that she does, this Charlie Chaplin cover song. And I want to slow it down. I want you to look at her eyes. And she's going to talk about praying for people, right? And when you look at this, you'll see this is the first time she actually looks away from the camera when she talks about praying, as if it's a lie. Okay? Now watch this and listen.
There's so much about all of the medical workers.
Watch the eyes.
That are putting their lives at risk for us right now.
Okay.
I think of them every day. I pray for them every day.
Notice the little, they call that there's some people that are really good at decoding people's body language. But you'll notice she dips the head when she talks about praying, and her eyes flash. Let's watch that again. This is very important because we all know that Lady Gaga showed up in a meat suit to the Grammys, and she studied under Marina Abramovich, right?
I pray for them every day.
You saw the little head nod and the turn. That's a sign of lying, okay?
And I'm also thinking of all of you.
Now, I've got this in slow motion, of course, because I wanted you to see that body language, okay? Now, there are some images of Gaga in her meat suit. I think this was actually the MTV Awards, not the Grammys, okay? People that pray for people don't wear meat suits, okay? And they don't train under people who are obsessed with blood and meat and all these things. And there's so much more. We're going to get into a little bit about Lady Gaga before we get into the meat of the show, no pun intended, right? So, digging down into this rabbit hole, I wondered if Lady Gaga had ever donned the clown makeup, right? And in fact, she did. Here's the music video here. Many of you will remember this. It is called Applause, and this is from 2013. Now, this officially released on like the 12th, but really got heavily promoted on the 13th of August. I wonder if that was a Friday the 13th. I should go back and look at the calendar. But I'm going to play this one in slow motion as well. I'm going to turn the sound off on this because I don't want this song stuck in your head. Just in the few minutes I was researching this morning, the song got stuck in my head already, okay? And I don't want you to have to deal with that because it's a form of sorcery as well, right? It does something to the subconscious mind. We're going to play this in quarter speed with the sound off. Now, this is the song Applause. Again, she's donning clown makeup, and I'm going to get into what this actually means. August 13, 2013 is when this officially released. 1313. And she promoted this by going public in clown makeup. Let's pull that up. Here's some images of her in clown makeup. All right. And here's some more images of her in clown makeup. She went out publicly to promote this music video. Here's the cover for it, and we're going to look at images of it. And there, look at, she's even got the arm of the this clown thing that they wear. Okay, so there's something to this, and I believe it linked into what Trump would later do on Friday the 13th of May to declare the national emergency, which would then open up everything that is happening right now. Look at this. There she is in like the top hat. She's in a cage here. That's probably all of us in quarantine, right? Back in 2013, they already knew this was coming. They knew. They knew they were going to lock us in cages. We would be the clowns in the streets, asking permission, causing chaos, destroying our own small businesses. We're going to get into that later in the show as well. But here she is, and obviously this is about the clown worship. They actually even discussed this. Look how evil this woman is. There she is in the cage, quarantine cage. Let's see if we can see any cues in there. I don't see a cue, but okay. It's all sorcery and black magic. She's got the blonde eyebrows, orange eyebrows, white face. I'm just kind of skipping through this. Very evil. People that wear this kind of stuff, fallen angel costumes, don't pray to the same God that we pray to. All right? Sorry. Nice try, Lady Gaga. But, you know, Christians that are on the fence or their heart's been hardened to believe in these people, they will take these things and run with them and go, see, she believes in God. Because they want so badly to believe that these very talented people are on their side and really look out for them and believe in them. Okay? So they will believe the strong delusion. So there's Gaga in her clown regalia. Now, they talk about the clown, just in case you don't want to believe that if you want to believe that I'm stretching this. This is from the Wikipedia article. The following day, Gaga was seen in goth costume with clown-like face paint, similar to the applause artwork, at various promotional events. So she was out doing her thing, which is what we just showed you pictures of. Beatnik performance artist, her face smeared with clown makeup, sporting David Bowie-esque androgyny while wearing a bra made of black. All right. So I believe that the joke is on us. They knew they were going to usher in. This was 2013. This was 3 years before the election. They knew. This was before Trump even announced his presidency. So you can't say, oh, they just made this up to make fun of Trump. No, nobody knew at that point in 2013. Obama was still president. So Friday the 13th of May was when this national emergency was announced by Trump that would kick off everything else. And I believe that the joke is on us. Now, Gaga's white face is a play on the white face of Chaplin. Here he is right here. And he was known for wearing white makeup. He was a clown. That's what he was. This is why he appeared in the film The Joker. All right. So, Gaga back in April, before all this kicked off, with this Charlie Chaplin reference, now you're seeing how this all tied in to something that hadn't happened yet. The coming chaos. They knew it was going to happen. They were pushing everybody towards the edge. Look at the whitewashed brick. This is the wall. That's what this symbolizes here. Right there in her living room. They probably chose this setting specifically to represent the symbolic wall, which, by the way, is going to lock us all in. You know that they're not approving passports right now, right? You know that when you go to get a passport, the United States government is saying you can't leave right now. If you're applying for a passport, you can't get it right now. Is it starting to settle in as to what this wall is really for. You can't escape it now. You can't just walk across the border. Nor will you be received very well, because we've already created the right-left paradigm of the immigrants. And most people in Mexico probably don't want you there anymore, because we've created this division between us and them, right? We're saying, you can't come in our country. Well, you can't come in ours either. And the wall's definitely going to help that. My guess is that eventually passports will have requirements attached to them related to the CV. And then you'll really be stuck behind a wall. Can't go north. Can't go across into the Canadian border, nor do many people want to. Very cold up there most of the year. So they made their stand, the powers that be made their stand at the southern border, because that's where it's warm. That's where you could cross the border and maybe camp out. If you really needed to escape what's coming, you could have done that before the Trump presidency, because there's a million ways to get across the border, but not anymore. Once this wall's done, you're stuck behind the wall. And whatever comes, forced VCs, anything that they want to do, you're going to become a victim to it. And let me check the chat here. Make sure we're live. We'll keep going with this. Thanks to everybody that showed up to the live show this morning. All right. So what else do we have here? Now, in this 2020 year, this is a leap year. And it's weird because Lady Gaga and I share the same birthday in this leap year. She was born on March 28th, which in this year is the 88th day of the year. I was born on March 29th, which in normal years is the 88th day of the year. And you'll see this sometimes, the way this manifests, where you'll see how your birthday fits into the matrix construct. And here's from what we've learned about all of this, because we've seen this happen a million times. We've seen people cast in these roles based on their birthday and how that fits in with other things, right? We saw Smiley, Ja Rule, in the film Assault on Precinct 13. He was born on Leap Day, February 29th, in the very year that the original Assault on Precinct 13, I think it was 1971, right? That wasn't an accident. They cast him for a reason. And so here's what I believe is going on with that. You're either evil, or you're meant to reveal or discover your birthday truth, to expose the evil. So what it is, it's like a polarity. It's like divisions in the matrix. Imagine them as like the cells in your body that are freshly divided. Your cells go through stages where they're either in growth mode or division mode, right? They're either in the mode of dividing, or they've completely divided. It's like the moment of separation or division in the spirit. And I believe that's how it works with time and space in this dimension of the trees of good and evil. Now, here are some very weird and peculiar birthday synchronicities related to the Joker. Joaquin Phoenix. He shares a birthday with Gil Bates, we're going to call him. Very interesting, right? October 28th. Here is Gil Bates, and here is Joaquin Phoenix. 45 and 64. Almost like mirrors of one another, right? Because on the very day that Gil Bates turned 64, when he was 60, what would he have been, 63, Joaquin Phoenix turns 45. So it's almost like a mirroring effect. Here are some of the other people that were born on that date. Let's see if we see any other synchronicities with these birthdays. Now, if you're just tuning into the show for the first time and listening to this birthday discussion, understand that we've already well established these birthday synchronicities across hundreds of videos and decodes that we've done. So we're not just pulling this out of thin air and making this up. We've seen this over and over and over again. So, one of you, here's Julia Roberts. We just decoded a film that she was in called Larry Crown, and that had none other than the Tom Hanks, who he and Rita have basically claimed that they had the CV and recovered from it, right? And he offered his convalescent plasma in the search for a VC, right? So here we have in this one list of birthdays, in the first 10 birthdays, 3 very important people who are all specifically related to the CV and synchronicity and foreshadowing in film. You can't make this up, you guys. If I would only found 1 or 2, that's one thing. But that's very weird, right? So, this sounds to me like the Joker was cast in this role as the Joker to basically bring into fruition what Gil Bates was pushing. And isn't it weird that the very thing that we were forced to do during the stay-at-home orders and going out in public, which is wearing masks, right? It became the false sense of security that emboldened an entire movement to create chaos in the streets. Do you think that was an accident? In other words, they gave them the costumes that they would need to falsely believe that they were maintaining some kind of anonymity. But in fact, we know that they were running tests, most likely, for facial recognition to see if they could identify people's faces, even though they were covered, just by looking at the eyes, the ridge of the nose, the brow line, the forehead, right? To me, it seemed like as time went on and people began to see that the sacrifice of the stay-at-home orders was outweighing the fear of the unknown, people started to wake up en masse. Now, first, Trump stepped in and tried to co-opt the movement. He was hinting that he was on the side of the protesters, right? He was hinting that, I don't wear a mask, so people were reading into that, then we don't have to wear one too, right? But in doing so, he failed to call off all the threats that the governors and essential businesses were making toward their customers about requiring people to wear a mask. So there was no teeth in what he was, quote unquote, representing. But nonetheless, the media tried to tag the protesters as Trump supporters, right? We saw that very early on, thinking back to how all this played out just a couple months ago. They said these were alt-right, extreme right people that were in the streets, not obeying orders, and it became a right-left thing. I remember a video that Brian did when he went out on the street with some signs protesting the masks, and a lady came up to him. She was highly triggered, and she called him a Trump supporter. He goes, I'm not a Trump supporter, but she automatically assumed he was. That was media programming, right? The truth of the matter was that there were a whole lot more than just Trump supporters out protesting the shutdowns. Now, thinking back, we had a couple of court wins in a few states where they were saying you don't have to do this, but really nobody was trying to open up early, okay? And it felt like the tide was turning, though. And there was pressure being put on the states by the citizens to reopen businesses with no masks and no rules associated with it, because their small businesses were starting to really suffer. The money wasn't coming through. Yeah, they were offering loans, but people didn't want to sign up for the loans. They just wanted to go back to work. And I think that they knew this was going to happen to some degree. And they had a contingency plan. And the contingency plan was exactly what we're going through right now. I mean, thinking back, people were in the streets peacefully. They were exercising their Second Amendment, and they were doing it peacefully. There were no accidents. There wasn't anything that happened that should have shut those protests down. But they were defying orders, stay-at-home orders. They were defying mandatory mask orders. And the elite saw that they were beginning to lose control. The protests started to spread nationwide, and people started talking. They started talking about who they knew who got sick and exactly what real effect CV was having on their community. They began to see that the impact was far less than it was hyped up in the media. And that they also began to realize that there was no difference in the quote-unquote spread between the shut down communities and the open communities. In fact, they saw just the opposite, that the people that didn't shut down, there were a handful of states that we covered on previous videos, that they had very low rates, even though the media was using statistical massaging, right, to say, oh, there is an increase. So, oh, if there were 10 cases and it turned into 20 cases, that's a 200% increase, right? They would start talking in terms of increases in cases instead of the actual number of cases. And you just can't do that because, as we know, they're saying, hey, if you're found to have it and you die, that becomes the cause of death, just automatically. No questions asked, except for in a very peculiar case. The GMF debacle. And if you don't know what GMF is, somebody help the people in the chat who don't know who GMF is. And all of a sudden, he had it, but they're saying that wasn't the cause of death. For the first time, after they ordered all of these officials in the hospitals and things, oh, if you find that someone has, if you test them and they have it and they die, you have to put down on the cause of death that it was caused from CV. And all of a sudden, magically, everything changed. Now, I was in Arkansas last month, as many of you know, just before this whole GMF thing popped off, and absolutely nobody was wearing a mask. I mean, some of the stores had plexiglass up, and they did have the floor markings, but all of that looked really old, like maybe they were on board kind of in the beginning. But none of those businesses shut down in Arkansas. And nobody was really social distancing or wearing masks. And Arkansas had some of the lowest numbers in cases in the country. How can that be? We were told this stuff was everywhere and it survives on surfaces for days and days and days. How can that be? Well, because something's not right. So as these realities concerning the vectors and how these things work, after this began to circulate, people began to realize that there were many inconsistencies in how this thing was being reported. Then we saw Trump throw Faust under the bus with a WWE wrestling move. You guys, this stuff's all for show. And then that was all it took for Trump to co-opt the movement, the momentum that was happening with this awakening. And everyone jumped on his side. See, Trump doesn't want it. He disagrees with the governors. He disagrees with the WHO. He's trying to turn this around, but he can only do so much. All the while, everybody forgetting that he was the one that gave the governors permission to do what they did with the national order on Friday the 13th. So then Trump pitched the football over to the left. He's like, okay, well, I've done all I can do. And then the left brought us GMF. And now look. What you were thrown in jail for or fined for 3 weeks ago is now totally acceptable. What about all the people that got fined? Got ticketed? Got thrown in jail for defying orders? Or got kicked out of stores? Or are they going to get paid back? Because now all of a sudden everyone's in the streets. No one's social distancing. Very few people are wearing masks. I mean, you guys, are we that gullible to not see what's going on here? And they basically co-opted the movement with more of the right-left paradigm, and in this case, race. The country is once again more divided than ever. And guess what happened to the small businesses in the midst of all this? they got the 1-2 punch. First, they got CV. That was the first wave. And then they got the second wave, the GMF. As many of these businesses were burned and vandalized across America. I don't know about you, but this stinks to high heaven. And then they went on to nationally televise an activity that they said was illegal. They could get you thrown in jail. How many families didn't get to bury their loved ones because of stay-at-home orders and distancing? But yet, they let the GMF funeral go on. They didn't give anyone a hard time about not wearing a mask. So, here's what I think happened and how all this went down. The awakening was co-opted, derailed, and redirected into something very negative, something very political and divisive. That's what I think happened. I guess we'll have to all see how this plays out, right? All right, let me go back in the chat. Just turn her off. Lady Gog of Magog. What's going on with this? Let's play a little bit more of this. Look at the hands. Pink, orange. It's like sherbet. This all looks a lot like they knew exactly what was going to go on. Look at that. Black swan coming out of an egg? Whoa. I don't remember that part. It's like a furry egg. Oh, hey. You know that VCs are basically cultured in chicken eggs. Okay? And some of the VCs are actually cultured in embryos. All right? The MMR. So this is very significant. Ooh, these look like iPet Goat lights back here. From iPet Goat. In the opening scene with the goat inside the crate. Whoa, let's pull that up. This is crazy. iPet Goat crate. Now, iPet Goat 2. We decoded the iPet Goat 2 crate because when you flip it upside down, it says COV and then it says ID. Which, oh, there it is right there. This is our picture here. Tweeted this out. For many of those of you who aren't on Twitter, oftentimes I'll tweet out images so you can, share them and stuff. But here's the crate from iPet Goat, and there you see the lights. Let's sit this side by side next to this. You guys can see this. And look at the I guess you call these stadium lights or set lights. And then there's Gaga inside her crate or her egg, right? Which also doubles for a VC in the black swan. So that means death, right? Wow, unbelievable. This is pure evil. I don't know who she's praying to. Ain't my God. A furry egg. We know that. Okay, I think we've seen enough of that. Goodbye. Get rid of her. Alright. Let's go back in here into the stream. Appreciate everybody showing up. Let's answer some questions. Now, a lot of what I covered today came from many of you who see the synchronicities too. You add your additional information. I read the comments, and then I can present it to everybody. So your voice really matters on this channel, right? I don't take everyone's advice, and please don't get upset at me if I don't, or if I don't use what you're showing. I do the best I can, and I follow the Holy Spirit. I follow what God leads me to do. So just because I don't use something that you've presented or you've shared in the comments doesn't mean I don't like you, and it doesn't mean that what you say isn't relevant. It just means I didn't see it, and maybe God doesn't want me covering that right at this moment. But if you feel very strongly about something, just be persistent about it, But the last thing you want to do is get mad at me or think I'm ignoring you or I don't heart your comment or whatever. There's nothing personal going on with that. All right, let's let this catch up and then we'll keep going with the show here. Now tomorrow, what are we going to do tomorrow? I had something planned for tomorrow. We do have a live show tomorrow. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But, okay, it's starting to slow down now. Takes a while for this to catch up. Looks like a bunch of people are in the chat, but it's really just catching up. Now, we'll be live with KJ, I think, next week. I want to, he invited me like yesterday. I'm supposed to be on there with a guy named Jacob Israel. Now, I don't know who he is. I just want to give a caveat. Because I'm on a show with other people does not necessarily mean that I share their views. But here's what will happen. The trolls will come out and say, oh, he's on there with so-and-so and this and that. Don't fall into that trap. That's divide and conquer. I'm going on the show because KJ invited me. And I don't know who else is going to be on the panel. I don't share their views on a lot of things. All right? So, and I'm not saying that as a negative toward the other people on the panel. I'm just saying don't fall into that troll trap because that's what they want you to believe. They want us all firmly divided, right? Lady Guy, that's pretty funny. All right. What do we have here? Tell me tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. Can you believe that? Week went by kind of quick. Okay. I don't know what the show topic's going to be, but it'll be interesting. All right. Like they took away Jory's. Jory, where's your wrench? Oh, that's a different Jory. Is that the same one? All right. So there's, I see Allie in the chat. T. Kerr, Juan, Jody, artist known as Lisa. Thanks you guys for coming out this morning. How do we get that letter you talked about? I'll also go back to... so you're probably talking about the letter that you can like bring with you if you don't want to wear an mask. Go on to High Impact Vlogs, High Impact Flicks. He's got a lot of platforms, but I don't know how you'd even get to it because it was a video that came up probably last month. But just search his channels and you should see like a form or something you can print out from a computer, from a printer, that has some verbiage on it that will help you so that you're not getting into a debate or a fight with people for standing up for your rights, okay? Now, for those of you that are in the Facebook group, it's grown to 1,600 people. I just started that Facebook group like 6 months ago, so that's cool. A lot of you have come over who are still on Facebook. Now, if you're not on Facebook, don't make a Facebook account just to be in the group. Facebook is going away. I had several complaints saying that there were fact checkers all over the Facebook group trying to discredit different posts that you guys have put on there. But the cool thing about my Facebook group is anybody can post. I just don't want people posting 6 and 7 times a day. So if you have a couple posts per day, 2-3 posts, that's fine. And what else happened was we had a situation where I had actually posted a very good video that had come up, and it looked like they were shadow banning it. The video was a woman who worked in school administration that was talking about the new guidelines that were coming out for the reopening of schools. And she was reading the document, and nowhere in there was it mandatory to wear these masks. In fact, there was some verbiage in there that seemed to indicate from OSHA that the masks don't even protect you from the CV. It was written right into the guidelines. And now this was California, and your state might be different, but keep an eye out for that. So, if you're thinking about sending your kids back to school and you think that they have to wear a mask, read through the guidelines. They're just guidelines. It doesn't say you have to. So you might want to push back a little bit with school administrators and say, look, I'm going to send my child to school. I don't want them to wear a mask. And see what they say. How can it hurt? Can't hurt anything. They can't discriminate against your child. If you have any proof of that, you can sue them. So, yeah, Margaret, my Facebook is Enter the Stars STARS, I think, is what I changed it to. And you guys can join the group over there. So I have a Facebook page and a group called Enter the Stars. So I think the link's actually in the description of all my videos, so that's an easy way to find it. So, a lot of good posts over there. I'm very proud of the people over there. I haven't had too many problems. Had a couple trolls roll through there. But here's the thing. If you get on the Facebook page and you see some people that are on there causing trouble, all you got to do is hit the 3 dots next to their comment and report them. And when you report them, I get that notification, and then I can go in and handle it, okay? I won't always just delete somebody right off the bat or block them from the group, but sometimes I'll have a discussion with them, but oftentimes it's just people and they're trying to cause trouble. So just, that's how you get to that. And so you don't even have to message me. Just hit the 3 dots, report the comment, and I'll see it next time I go in and look in the group, okay? All right. Do you guys ever feel like they're capping our live shows? Like today, we just seem to be stuck at 350, right? Not that it matters, but I feel like with all the subscribers we have coming to this channel, I feel like they just cap the live shows. They just like throttle them or stop people from coming in. Many of you have told me that you've been kicked out of live shows. Yeah. Now, back to the group and some of these fact checkers that removed some of the posts. One of those was, I believe, that news article that they were talking about people that do not have symptoms. It was actually someone at the WHO that announced it publicly, that if you don't have symptoms, that it's very rare to spread it. Well, people that posted that, Facebook took it down. Why? Well, their fact checker said, oh, well, the WHO came back and clarified what she meant by that statement. And it's just an isolated incident, or it's a very limited observation of a very small group of people that did not spread it, and that you can't extrapolate that out and assume that people that are asymptomatic are not spreading it. So they walked that back. So in effect, Facebook now, their fact checkers are removing anything that says that asymptomatic people don't spread it. They're calling it partially false news. Isn't that interesting? So, this is how it works. This is the new world we live in now. It's very troubling. All right. Okay, I think we're going to call it a day this morning. Please show up to the show tomorrow. Very good show tomorrow. We're at 37 minutes. I love each and every one of you. And we'll see you guys in the morning. Take care and be safe.